Hello everyone and welcome to Cinderful Gaming. In today's video we're going to be looking at the battle traits for the Sentinels of Order factions in Age of Sigmar Warcry. You can find these rules for these factions in the new Briar and Bone box set. Today's video is sponsored by Gap Games, a fantastic miniature wargaming store in Queensland, Australia. They stock a wide variety of miniature wargames from all things Games Workshop to some of my personal favourites, Conquest of the Last Argument of Kings, and all things Modifius wargames as well. Use our affiliate code in the link below to help support both this fantastic store and the channel as well. And so to begin with, first of all, we have the generic Order battle trait. Now, you can choose Order instead of your faction's particular battle trait if you want at any point in time. So if you are an Order faction, you can choose either Order or say your Cities of Sigmar, have the choice of Order or Cities of Sigmar. Order's ability is Courageous Defenders. When a friendly fighter with this battle trait makes a take cover reaction, critical hits will become a hit roll on a 3+ instead of 4. This is particularly good for any solid defensive units if you've got some units sitting behind cover at long range, so good shooting, or anything with a really high defense or high amount of wounds. Cities of Sigmar are next, and they have the Dawnbringer Zealot special rule. At the end of each battle round, you can pick a friendly fighter with this battle trait that is on the battlefield. You can remove D3 damage points allocated to that fighter, and you remove an additional damage point if that fighter is within 3 inches of an objective, carrying treasure, or within 1 inch of an obstacle. So this is once again pretty good for the same sort of things as Order, just a different sort of ability. Going to be good with things like Free Guild Fusiliers, or even more powerful high wound defensive units like your Drakespawn Knights, and even things like Ironbreakers, which don't have a lot of wounds but do have good defense. The Daughters of Cain have Jubilant Bloodletting. When a friendly fighter with this battle trait makes a melee attack action after the hit rolls have been made, if you scored 1 or more critical hits and 1 or more hits and or critical hits, you can pick a double, triple or quad you have and add 2 to the value of the ability to a maximum of 6. And this is pretty good because Daughters of Cain do have quite a few models with 4 attacks or more. There's definitely some with 5 and 6 attacks on their weapon profiles, which will definitely help in sort of boosting up. So how you want to play this is you sort of want to get the models that have a lot of attacks, trying to get those critical hits in there, and then use your abilities on the models you want later in the round. Fireslayers have Runic Momentum. After a friendly fighter with this battle trait uses an ability, you can add one to the move characteristic for the next move action they make this activation. This is pretty cool because Fireslayers do generally struggle with movement, they're dwarden, they're slow, but getting some extra movement is nice, and you do have the ability to use quite a few doubles across your force. Generally that's how you'd want to be using this, using your generic sort of doubles for your fire steel throwing axes, and then getting some extra movement on your fighters. Hunters of Huanchi have the Hidden Hunters ability. After deployment, each player whose warband has this battle trait can pick a friendly fighter with this battle trait from each friendly battle group that is on the battlefield. One at a time, remove those fighters from the battlefield and pick a different battle group. Then you deploy that fighter as if it were part of that battle group. This is pretty cool because it can mean that your battle groups will not be on the sort of perfect 33% that you have to split as evenly into the 3 parts. You can sort of stack into one particular battle group, you can withdraw, you can push in certain directions, just change where some of your fighters are depending on opposing threats. For a warband that is very much a very frail warband, I think this is an excellent ability. Idoneth Deepkin have Power of the Tides. In battle rounds 1 and 2, they get +1 movement. In battle rounds 3 and 4, they add 1 to the strength characteristic of melee attack actions instead. This is pretty cool. You don't have an awful lot of very high strength in Idoneth Deepkin, so it's nice. Getting some extra movement as well in the early battle rounds to go grab treasure, to go sit on objectives, or potentially just sort of join up your forces is a nice little ability to have for the Idoneth. I think this definitely benefits your foot slogging Idoneth more with the extra movement, though an extra inch of movement on, things like your Achillean Cavalry, the Eel Riders, is going to be really useful as well, considering they do have that fly rune mark. Swarming Shadows is for the Cainite Shadowstalkers. At the end of each battle round, each player whose warband has this battle trait can pick 2 friendly fighters that are within 9 inch of each other, more than 3 inch from each enemy fighter and not carrying treasure. You then simply swap them around. This is a really cool ability. Now, you can't use this sort of trick to get rid of anything like treasure and that and swapping it around, but being able to maybe bring one of your combat units into a position where it's closer to make a move than attack, and swapping it around with a shooting unit is nice. Changing around one of your warlocks to say your Slaughter Shade or your Shroud Queen is a good option in this, and I think it'll work really well for the Warband, getting the heavy hitters where they want to be. Kharadron Overlords have the Good Deal ability. Once per battle round, after a friendly fighter with this battle trait is targeted by an attack action but before the hit rolls are made, you can make a deal. If you do so, you add 1 wild dice to your opponent's saved wild dice, then subtract 2 from the damage points allocated to that fighter for each hit and critical hit to a minimum of 1. This is pretty cool because it's not an instant benefit. Now, obviously adding wild dice to your opponent, this is really potent in, say, turn 4 where they're not going to have any effect on the game. Even, potentially giving them in the early turns is not going to be the most negative impact thing. There is a particular warband you're going to want to avoid giving extra wild dice to with how they now work in the Teriatic cohort. But I think this is nice. This can really lower the damage coming into your fighters. Lumineth Realm Lords have Aether Quartz reserves. At the start of the first battle round, each player whose warband has this battle trait can pick a friendly fighter. That fighter has an Aether Quartz reserve. Once per battle, that fighter can use their Aether Quartz reserve, and when they do so, the next time that fighter uses an ability, they can treat 1 double you have as a triple or 1 triple you have as a quad. This is a really good ability, allowing you to access some of those more powerful abilities, or more importantly, some of the more generic abilities. Being able to turn a triple all of a sudden from an Inspiring Presence into a Rampage is massive, going to really help. Even a double, being able to get an Onslaught into an Inspiring Presence is a good option as well for your leader. A really, really potent ability, especially when you've got some really good glass cannon fighters. Seraphon are next, and after you pick your warband, you pick either Coalesced or Starborn and gain the corresponding battle trait. Coalesced is probably, I think, where I'm leaning to as the better one, with friendly fighters with this battle trait being able to add 1 to the value of any triple spent for the Tearing Bite to a maximum of 6. What Tearing Bite does, it just allows you to deal extra damage from your ability, which is really, really cool, to a maximum of 6, obviously, so you can't buff this past 6, which is a little bit disappointing, but still super powerful ability. And then Starborn, friendly fighters with the battle trait can make the Starborn reaction when they're targeted by melee and ranged attack actions. So you do lose the reaction if you go for the Coalesced ability to get that damage boost, but I think it's just always better, especially when you've got things like counter and that as generic reactions. Now, the Stormcast Eternals are split up into 2 different types of abilities. First of all, the Quest of Soulsworn have their own unique one, which is Heroes Without Limit. Fighters with this battle trait can use multiple abilities each activation. Such fighters can use the same ability more than once and can use multiple abilities when they normally would only be able to use one. Where abilities grant bonus actions, such as abilities used one at a time and then fully resolve before another ability can be used. This is incredibly powerful, and I think with how good the Quest of Soulsworn is, this may even make them the best warband in the game. Being able to just continuously use abilities non-stop means you're always going to be going for doubles, always going to be going for extra attacks and movements, and all the abilities the Quest of Soulsworn already have are quite cheap for what they do. Now, all the other Stormcast Eternal, Thunderstrike, Sacrosanct, all of that sort of stuff, and yes, Sacrosanct can still be used in Warcry, so if you're a bit upset that they can't be used in your games of Age of Sigmar, they have rules for Warcry. Now, Silence of the Storm, after deployment, you can pick a friendly fighter with this battle trait. If that fighter's on the battlefield, you remove them. At the start, the second battle round onwards, starting with the attacker, you can place that fighter on the battlefield more than 5 inch from an enemy fighter and more than 3 inch from each objective and treasure token. This is a nice ability to get fighters in sort of different places, not having to deploy on the edges of the battlefield where reserves would normally come on from, especially considering you've got quite powerful fighters. You've got some good ranged option with fighters as well. And even considering it's 5 inch, this could be good for your fighters with like their wizard attacks. So something like a Knight in Cantor or something like that, the Knight Arcanum, would be really nice uses of this ability. Sylvaneth use the Spirit Pathways ability. Once per battle, a friendly fighter with this battle trait can use the Walk the Spirit Paths ability without needing or spending any ability dice, and can use this ability as if they had the Warrior Rumark. This is really powerful. Just some extra teleportation across the battlefield opens up a lot of other fighters, I think, that maybe sort of get pushed into the back when you consider the Warrior Rumark being important for just moving around your Sylvaneth. This can potentially be really good on things like your Kurnoth Hunters, making sure that those powerful warriors you have and you've invested so many points in can get into the fights and get into where they need to be. The brand new Twistwood have an ability Ravaged by Corruption. At the end of each battle round, you choose a friendly fighter with this battle trait that is within 1 inch of one or more enemy fighters and roll a dice. On a 2+, allocate 1 damage point to your friendly fighter, but also, if that friendly fighter is not taken down, pick an enemy fighter and allocate D3 damage points to them. That's obviously within 1 inch. It's going to be really good. We have a Twistwood battle report up already that you can go check out, and we do use this ability to some pretty decent effect. Next are the Wildercorp Hunters. Point Blank Volley is their ability, and once per battle round before a friendly fighter with this battle trait makes a ranged attack action, you can have them make a point blank volley. When you do so, you treat the minimum range of that weapon as 1. This is pretty cool because it does open up a lot of your more powerful shooting options. Definitely on the Arbalaster is where this is going to be the most important. I'd almost always be keeping this in mind when your opponent's trying to lock that particular model up in a fight. Being able to get some powerful shooting damage is really nice. The Vulcan Flameseekers, next, our second to last warband for order we have here. Friendly fighters with the Berserk rune mark can use the following ability: Reborn in Flame for a triple. You pick a friendly fighter with the Beast rune mark that has been taken down and set that fighter up on a platform or the battlefield floor wholly within 3 inches of this fighter. That fighter no longer being counts as taken down, and remove each damage point allocated to that fighter. This is pretty cool because it means your little Magmadroth baby can just keep coming back. There'd be reasons why you maybe want to change up the initial box set and bring, maybe multiple of your Berserker rune marked fighters in there as well. And also, this is friendly fighters with the Berserker rune mark as well. So, it can have some interesting sort of effects on how you're going to play it. And lastly, we have the Yggdrasil Riverblades, and their ability is the river winds its way. You add 1 to the move characteristic of friendly fighters with the battle trait if they start a move action within 1 inch of a terrain feature and on the battlefield floor. This is pretty cool considering there are multiple ways in Yggdrasilans to potentially boost your movement. They are a very fast, very glass cannon warband, and getting some extra movement to allow them to sort of stay out of your opponent's attacking threat range and then move in on their own is a solid way to go about inflicting the most damage with the minimal return coming into your Yggdrasil Riverblades. We hope that this video was helpful in getting you started with Warhammer Age of Sigmar Warcry, and that it was able to give you some ideas and inspiration to start your own force in the game. If you have any other questions at all, please comment them down below and we'll endeavour to get back to you. And while you're there, don't forget to drop a like, subscribe and join our Discord server as well, linked in the video's description, for all our future Warhammer Age of Sigmar Warcry content.